Between the hills, the stars, the sky, the river so clear, river so clear.
Our opening words come from the text, A Course in Miracles. Let us join in a spirit of meditation, reflection, or prayer as we listen to them. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. This is how A Course in Miracles begins. It makes a fundamental distinction between the real and the unreal, between knowledge and perception. Knowledge is truth under one law, the law of love or God. Truth is unalterable, eternal, and unambiguous. Does the Match Love the Wick by Kelly Weissman, Asbruth Jackson. Does the match love the wick? Does the wick love the wax or the air it consumes? Yes, without question. To melt together, to burn together, to change together, the pieces of the candle must love each other, though not necessarily wisely and not necessarily well. Today's speaker is truly one of the best people I've ever met. He does bring the light. They bring the light, excuse me, Zayden. They bring the light when they are also in the darkness, which is a hell of a job. So if you would please welcome Zayden Q. Bartosh, I would appreciate it.
That's a hard introduction to follow up to. I feel like there's a lot of expectations now that I'm not going to live up to, and I'm going to be a failure. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Don't talk me up so much. We got to keep the expectations low. So like, if it's not that great, no, not the worst. It's not the worst, but like, I don't know about good, but that's okay. Wow, the children's story was like, I was like, oh, actually, that's the Course in Miracles. Like, it's right there in the kids' story, so I don't need to explain anything. You guys heard it already. But also more than, getting into the Course and talking about that, I was going to talk about, the UU's one of the 7 principles, principle 4, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And that search for myself and what got me here today, because like through my life and the things that I've been through, especially as a recovered alcoholic, like there's no reason I should be standing here today. So it's pretty amazing, like especially not in a church, although you're a little different than the rest of the churches that I have religious trauma from. So it's like, and like as I was sitting there, I was just, so many emotions were overcoming me, and they're gonna keep coming. And I was thinking about, I was at an event one time, and this lady was up here speaking, and she's like, I'm gonna cry, but don't bring me Kleenex's boxes. Like, I don't want them. I don't know what the tears are. It's either God coming in or God going out, but like, we just need to let it be. So like, she was like, don't bring me Kleenexes, but I got Kleenexes right here. So we're good on that. If I start crying, because I'm sure I will, because I was so, it's so moving to sit in a place like this as a queer person growing up in North Dakota, and as a recovered alcoholic, and as someone who is like, the lowest of the low in this state. And I'm fully welcomed, accepted, and loved here. Like, it doesn't matter how I came in here. If I wasn't, I was telling my friend, I could look like I'm homeless up here and giving the sermon. Y'all be like, yeah, you're, come back, we love you, and that's just like, that to me is what God is, if there is a God, or you choose to believe in something, or that's what love is. Do you know what I mean? Like love, just like that book said, it's gentle, it's kind, it's not selfish, it gives, it doesn't take. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be up here today. Yeah, if it's going on, just like cut it off, Zayden. I'm gonna put this in front of me. Okay. Yeah, wow. It's been, and never did I think, I'd be up in churches giving sermons and stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is like my 4th or 5th one. How did this happen? I don't know. So if you've met me, you've probably heard me say love is always the answer. It's really the motto that ended up saving my life. And it was the unconditional love that I experienced in certain places sometimes is, it's what saved me. And it's funny because I actually annoy a lot of people when I say love is always the answer, especially like, with things that are going on politically in the world and the division and
all that stuff. And I'm like, well, love is always the answer. And they're like, well, violence is sometimes too. I'm like, well, I mean, like, yeah, and sometimes, I don't know, but we won't get into that. But I don't really mean like, if someone's like punching you, you should just be like, oh, let me hug you. You just need love. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not really practical in this world. And what I also mean when I say love is always the answer, I actually mean God, but like that would annoy people a lot more, especially myself, because like, even saying the word God still gives me a little bit of that, like, I can feel that trauma there. Because I was persecuted by a evangelistic, or I don't even know what, it was adult teen it was a recovery center for adults that is Christian based. So like even me using that word is tough, and I don't want to shy people away, because unfortunately God is like not associated with love so much anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like you hear God and I think, oh no, Christians are coming after me to like put me up on the cross next or whatever. I'm going to go into a concentration camp. Like seriously, like I have been mentally prepared to be shipped off somewhere because of the state of the nation. And it's not outlandish because it's been done all throughout history. We're just the next group that's coming under attack. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's a real thing. And my friends have planned trips, to leave the States and go to Canada or wherever else that's safety. Excuse me. Including myself, I'm leaving the state because it's not safe for me here either, and that's not really how I wanted to start the sermon up. Well, all these depressing stuff. We're gonna get to the good stuff, but yeah, it's crazy where we're at. So it's like, how can a person be loving and all these things, or how can I, as a trans person, like people look at me and I'm not even looking at me because I'm passing now. But people who know me, I've become so othered in some other thing that I'm no longer human. Like you hear a trans person, it's like alien like stuff or whatever, you know what I mean? So like I have all throughout my life never fit in. I don't fit in with the boys, I don't fit in with the girls. And that was from a very young age, and like I've felt so alone. And it was really hard growing up that way and getting bullied, because I did look like a boy, and they'd be like, well, what do you want to be, a boy? And it's like, well, yeah, but I don't know if I should say that. Because I've learned from a very young age that being, like, it's bad enough to be gay, but for the love of God, don't be trans, you know what I mean? Or it's okay to be a lesbian, but don't be a gay guy, because misogyny runs really deep. So, it's justified. Like, of course they'd be annoyed when I say those things. Like, what have you looked at the world lately, right? Like, it's a nation divided with racism, homophobia, transphobia, misogynism, the patriarchy, human rights being stolen, mass homicide. How could you possibly solve all these problems, right? Because my mind goes there. I don't know about you guys, but boy, do I go down rabbit holes of like, okay, this is how, So my answer would be, and then I say, well, love is always the answer. And but it's like, well, what do you mean by love? What does that mean? And I don't think that love is necessarily something that we could define maybe, on this level, but I do think that like God equals love and love is God. And whatever that energy is, or that force, or that thing unseen that you can feel and you can give and you can receive, I think that's spirit, and I think that's God. And I can't really go much further than that. I had mentioned that love and God are synonymous, right? That God is love. So we were created in God's image, just like that book was saying, I am love, and therefore we are love. If God is perfect, then so are we. If God is innocent, then so are we. The problem, the course that I eventually get to helps us see, is that I am confused about who I am. Wait a minute. I just said that as a trans person. Let me clarify very clearly what I mean, because it has nothing to do with my gender identity. I'm confused about, I think I'm this body. I think I'm this mind that I think with, that analyzes and judges, and I'm future tripping, or I'm worrying, or I'm stuck in the past, and like all this thing. But what the course we'll get into, and maybe I won't go to it so deeply, but as a recovered alcoholic, I learned that drinking was but a symptom of my real problem, and what I really had was a thinking problem. You wouldn't really like think that's what we talk about in the 12 steps, because everyone hears like they hear 12 steps and like, oh, that's a God thing, isn't it? And it's like, actually, how I would really describe it is cognitive behavioral therapy, because you turn, I heard it, yeah, because you could take God completely out of the equation and do the 12 steps and just say that, you need to replace whatever thought system you're using was something else. And that is essentially what the course teaches too, that it's all in the mind. It's nothing to do with the body. It doesn't have to do with behaviors. But it's a mind training kind of thing. And so for me to get sober, I had to change my mind, basically. Because my next drink is only this far away from me, and it only takes one thought for me to go like this and like that, right? So like, how am I possibly going to get over that? And in that recovery from alcoholism, wow, y'all, it was so impossible. And like, I mean, like, I'm a real alcoholic. Like, it's amazing that if my family didn't have money, I would have been under the bridge, you know, like the stereotypical one, but they had some money. So I got to go to like treatments and hospitals, and never asked for any of that. But I mean, like, I'm drinking all the time, 24/7, so blackout. I have a criminal history. But again, I have recovered. But the first thing that helped me get into a recovery space, those people loved me unconditionally. Like, it didn't matter that I'm gay. I wasn't yet out as trans. I didn't even really know I was trans until I was 4 years sober. Or come to terms with that, I should say. But I would walk in there after like ruining my entire life, you know what I mean? I burn everything to the ground. It's my 3rd DUI. I've been in jail again. I've been in the psych ward again. My family doesn't want to see me. Like, what more can we do for you? Why are you coming to the hospital again? There's nothing more we can do for you. We're just going to send you home with some like not withdrawal medication because we don't trust you and you're probably going to like, you know, whatever. Or you're under arrest and they won't even see you because you're under arrest. And apparently you can't get medical care if you're under arrest, even when you fake seizures. I'm also that kind of alcoholic that gets seizures, and those were real sometimes, I think. I don't really know. No, a friend said, well, what's... You know, I can't really tell the false from the true because I lied so much in that. I'm going to somehow keep this up here, so I don't have to keep doing that. Here we go. Okay. Gotta make sure you can see my non-binary sticker. All right, cool. Oh yeah, I'm non-binary. My pronouns are they, them. And he is fine too, just because it's North Dakota, y'all, and like, it's honestly like, if we use they, them, then I'm outed right away, and it's not really safe. But I feel super safe at the UU, and I always have, and that's what I love about you guys. And you know, that's what happened, that's what happened like in AA too, was that these people demonstrated these qualities that were very attractive. You know, they loved me unconditionally, they accepted me unconditionally. Growing up in North Dakota, as a trans person and as a queer person, those are kind of synonymous. Y'all, it wasn't until this last fall or whenever it was, when there was the critical race theory public comment hearing meeting that I went to not even give like public comment necessarily on, or not at all, to what they were going to pass, but I knew the people that were going to show up there, and I knew what they were going to say. And I felt it was my duty to show up, you know what I mean, as a person who's recovered. That's why I go to these spaces. That's why I do what I do. You know, I facilitate an LGBTQ support group and stuff like that to get involved, because like, I needed someone like that growing up, you know what I mean? So going to that meeting and hearing the audience, it really opened up something for me that I had no idea that like, so in getting sober, or like in life in general, or something's wrong, the question not to ask is why? Why am I an alcoholic? Why is life happening to me? Why is it like this, you know? And I learned to ask new questions, and then sometimes the whys would come. So when I was really young and I wanted to kill myself, I started cutting and I wanted to die, and people would ask me, well, what's wrong? And I was like, I don't know. And that was the truth, because I didn't know. I was young. I don't know how to, my brain wasn't developed enough, or I don't know if I had maybe more emotionally intelligent people in my life, I could have processed through that better. But I wasn't able to compute that all the things that people around me were saying in this state about queer people, about people of color, about trans people, like they think that like we're all just one of us because I guess I look like a North Dakota white guy, whatever. But I'm not, okay? I mean, like, I'm part of that, but anyway, just not a guy. So, you know, I had no idea how much I internalized all those messages. And like, when you hear that kind of stuff all the time, and like, it starts going in, you know, you just feel like, what is wrong with me? Like, there is something wrong with me, and I don't know what's wrong with me. And like, that was the questions I kept asking forever, you know, like, what is wrong with me? Like, and I felt like I deserved punishment when I didn't do anything wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like, I am wrong, I need to be punished. Like, that was like that crap that had been sitting down there for so long, you know what I mean? And thank God for finding a recovery community that could first show me some love. And on top of that too, it was actually a church community as well. Sorry I didn't find you guys first. I would have totally came here first if I also didn't have religious trauma, because like, I don't know, that's another story that I don't have all the time to get into. So we're gonna bring it back in. So, you know, I started finding some of those things in my life, and life didn't look so bad. And I was like, wow, you know, like, this is, with all, I had lived in fear for so long, like, and I still do, y'all. Like, it's like a whole learning of, I couldn't believe, like, Liz, when you said that, like, even in the darkness, my light is shining. I'm like, no, it's not, because like, this last year has been so hard. It had been so hard when I had that wound open up and that trauma, and then I'm getting trigger responded, you know, and like, and I'm supposed, like, not supposed to be loving. I want to be loving. I want to be accepting, but those people have, like, you know, the things that I've said have so damaged me. So how the hell am I supposed to be loving to all these things that have hurt me, you know what I mean, that have made me feel like there's something wrong with me? How can I be a person of faith? How could I, you know what I mean? How can I even live in this city? I don't feel safe. I don't know where to go. I don't know who I can talk to, you know what I mean? And so I met this girl, and that's not how this is going. It's not that kind of met this girl, because it's usually that kind of met that girl. But I met a girl, and she had talked about recovery in a certain way, and like this whole like, she asked me, do you want to be right or do you want to be free? And I was like, what does that mean? Like, I think I want to be right mostly, because doesn't that mean that like that feels good, you know? And I heard the saying, fear is false evidence appearing real, and I was like, oh, what does that mean? So in case you're wondering, you know, that first part that Liz read from the course, I can't remember how it goes, but what's that alluding to is that what the course teaches is like, if God is perfect love, then only love exists. Therefore, anything that doesn't come from that is not real. So fear is not real, sin is not real, guilt is not real, because it didn't come from God, because God can only be truth. Now remember, so as I'm sharing this is just my personal belief system. Please use whatever works for you, because you know what else I really love about the course is when it explains why or what it is. I'm gonna read real quick. That's not it. Okay. It specifically states that a universal theology is impossible, but a universal experience is not only possible, but necessary. And although this book actually is Christian in statement, the course deals with universal spiritual themes. It emphasizes there is but one version of the universal curriculum. There are many others, this one differing from them only in form. They all lead to God in the end. You know, and like, that's also what I love so much about this place and this church, is that, you know, everyone is welcome, no matter what it is, and finding your own personal God, higher power, you know, just something bigger, because there just has to be something more. Do you know what I mean? And like, that thought that came into my mind is what really changed things for me too. And like, somehow something else entered me, or I tapped into that inner source, and like, I started to see life a little bit differently, and I started to believe different things. And like, it's amazing how much our beliefs create our reality all the time. It doesn't matter what this world looks like. My beliefs create the world I see. And, you know, the course really gets into that perception thing, and like what it really, you know, changing that perception to have, they'll call it spiritual sight, or to see people past the body, to see spirit, to see them as the innocent child of God that we all are. But it doesn't mean, you know, that we go and behave that way necessarily, but it's all up here in my mind. And that was such a truth to me, because I knew for a fact that this is what drives me crazy or makes me feel joy. This is what like dictates the rest of my life, or whatever it is, you know what I mean? So like, it became very apparent to me how powerful the mind is. And I see I'm at 15:30, I'm gonna wrap it up, I promise. and I would never, so, and that's what I learned through those, you know, working 12 steps, is how powerful my mind is. And if I can redirect that or turn it over, ask for some guidance from something outside of myself, something magical starts to happen. And I love magical things. Like, I love all metaphysical, like, kind of spiritualities, or like any kind of stuff we different, you know, do. I love it all. But, you know, I couldn't get sober with that same mind that I was using at that time. I can't find joy and peace if I'm hating other people. I truly believe in what we give is what we receive. And if I'm giving that out there to other people, that's what I'm going to get back. Even if they are doing those things, and even if they are wrong and all that stuff, and it's, you know, justify or whatever, I can still in my mind see past the errors, because it's not sin. It's just a mistake of misperception. And what that person is doing by projecting out their own fear, what they're really doing is calling out for love. And I can trust that on this metaphysical level, I can send them love, and that spirit or whatever it is will deliver that message. And maybe if that person isn't open to it right then at that moment, it'll go to someone else. You know, that's where my faith comes in. And I have faith that, like, it's going to be delivered. And as long as I keep pushing that stuff out there, that's exactly what I'm going to get back, because I have so experienced that over and over and over in my life. The more I'm stuck in self and thinking about me and my needs and stuff like that and whatever, like, that's how crappy my life is going to be. But you know, it's also not that simple, guys. Like, please go see therapy, do all the things. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, let's be real, okay? So, like, oh yeah, just like change your mind in a second, everything's fine. Yeah. I wish. You know, this is not an overnight matter, right? So it takes practice. And so it takes daily practice with me to keep living in that spiritual light and to be the light that you guys have shown me, you know, with that love and acceptance. Because really, at the end of the day, that's all I really want to do, is be able to, like, show someone that you're seen, you're heard, and I love you. So thank you for loving me back.
Zayden, I just wanted to thank you, because I'm so furious all the time. I'm so angry because people I love and care about, people like you, the best people in the state, are leaving and they're getting hurt, and it's terrible. And I go around hating it. It's not my nature. So I'm gonna try to remember what you said, that fear. Say it again. Would you say it again?
False evidence appearing real.
What was the last thing you said, though, about when people put fear out, they're putting out?
Whatever we put out is what we're going to give back. So if I'm putting out fear and hate, that's exactly what I'm going to get back in the inside. I don't know if that was what it was. Might not have been. Anyone else?
The cry for love. That's the one. That's the one.
Yep.
That's the one. Yeah. The cry for love. So I'm going to try, because I'm so angry. And I used to say that my favorite emotion was righteous indignation, but it's gotten the best of me now. And I'm just furious all the time. So I'm going to work on something different.
I would like to piggyback off that. It would be really wonderful if we can get generational gap happening. Older generations that live here in this community that do have a stance, that have been around, that have connections. If you have any love or support in your heart for this, your voice and your face showing up and helping change the way that we are articulating and talking and conversing about this topic, especially in the state, would highly benefit the younger generations that have a lot of energy to go out on the streets and do all those things, but they feel like when they're in small spaces, in small community places, are they really being supported by the elders? Do the elders really come and circle around them and show them and lift them up and tell them that we see you, we hear you, and we're okay that you're here. We want to support your light. So as a person who is outside of the community and finding my way into the community here as a new person to Bismarck, that is one thing that I really notice and that we're falling away from, is bringing the wisdom and the knowledge from the elders into circles so we can ground the movement and continue to push forward.
All right, I'm going to extinguish the chalice with a final reading, which comes from the workbook. I forget to change it, sorry, Zayden, for A Course in Miracles. This is just an excerpt. Let miracles replace all grievances. Perhaps it is not yet quite clear to you that each decision that you make is one between a grievance and a miracle. Each grievance stands like a dark shield of hate before the miracle it would conceal. And as you raise it up before your eyes, you will not see the miracle beyond. Yet all the while it waits for you in light, but you behold your grievances instead. Today, we go beyond the grievances to look upon the miracle instead. We will reserve the way you see by not allowing sight to stop before it sees. We will not wait before the shield of hate, but lay it down and gently lift our eyes in silence to behold the Son of God.
It's getting late, please don't hesitate. Put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. Just wait and see. Another day goes by, and still the children cry. Put a love in your heart. Look around, and if you're looking down, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. Just wait and see. Put a little love in your heart. 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 We want the world to know we won't let hatred grow.